Hi everybody, Adam Guthrie here from I Feel Good magazine, and today I'm super excited to have a chat with Liat Solomon from Bali. And Liat owns down to earth cafes. She's got a number of cafes in Bali, and she's also the founder of the Bali Vegan Festival, which I was fortunate enough to go and speak at this year, and it was amazing. So, Liat, thank you for having me at the Bali Vegan Festival, and also thank you for joining us today. I'm really interested in delving into your story because you came to Bali a long time ago. You were one of the first Western pioneers, weren't you? Can you tell us a bit about that? When did you arrive?
I arrived in Bali in '96 the first time, so that's over 22 years, but I started my businesses in about 2001, early 2002.
Early 2002?
Yeah.
Wow, so that's, how many years is that? That's 16 years ago you started the businesses.
In Bali, yes, because I kind of moved around before, but in Bali, yes.
So what are your businesses in Bali? Because you've got a number of them.
Yeah, so the first one, give you a little bit of a history, yes. I originally from Israel, studied in New York, and I've started with my macrobiotic studies when I was about 19 years old, so I'm 53 now, so you can calculate. And I opened actually my first restaurant in Tel Aviv at the age of 18, the second one 19, and both of them were more vegetarian oriented. Then I decided to jump into studying, and I was also a classical ballet dancer, so I said, okay, New York is the place for me. With a little bit of a detour in Miami, I started, because my mother had cancer back then, I started to volunteer in the Macrobiotic Foundation in Coconut Grove in Miami. Working with cancer patients. And that was my mother was actually dying of cancer at that time. Just lost my grandmother at the age of 54, and the women in my family started to actually pass one after another from all of the same thing, which is breast and ovarian cancer. So for me, the rebel that I was, something is wrong in what they're doing, and the one common thing is their diets. They all ate the same thing. So diet was a very intense part of my life from a very young age. So at 19, I was first introduced to macrobiotics by overhearing a conversation in a restaurant. I was sitting with my mom, and I just didn't want to hear what she's saying, and I was listening to the next one, and this is how, and I just got up and I introduced myself to the couple next, and I said, can I study, can I learn from you? And they sent me to the Coconut Grove Macrobiotic Association Foundation back then. Later on, with all my macrobiotic studies, moved to Boston. Sorry, let me turn it off. Moved to Boston to live with Michio Kushi, who was the founder of Macrobiotics. Actually, it was George Ashawa. He was the early student, so moved to his house and became a scriber. The lines of people coming from all over the world with cancers to him was like 500 people every day, and I was a scriber. So I was supposed to write his diet. He was Japanese, so it was very difficult to understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
But I got it, and that was really a great experience for me to live there in the mansion in Brookline, in Massachusetts, for about a year. Back to New York, studied macrobiotics, and then also in parallel Chinese medicine, and done that. My mother was a psychiatrist, still dying of cancer, said, without an MD, nobody's going to look at you. So I went to medical school. My mother passed away at the age of 54, just before 54 years old. And that was the end. So I dropped out of medical school. Did not have to prove to anybody anything anymore. And he said, okay, time to Vipassana and all kinds of stuff like that to improve the spirit. Went down to India, 1 year in India, realized I have to live in Asia, number one. I love Asia. And there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do here. So I came to Bali, fell in love with Bali, decided, okay, I'm here. And then, of course, after having my first child, I realized it's time to go back to work. I started with cooking for personal needs, doing consultations with people, sitting with them, defining a diet and following the recipes, teaching them also cooking and so on. And producing food, packing and distributing to shops and restaurants around Bali. Were not so many at that time, 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, and started with the best thing I know how to do, which was hummus and falafel and trina as an Israeli, and then sell it in the supermarkets around Bali. A year later, in 2002, was the first restaurant, Zula.
The first restaurant that you opened.
Yes, and Zula was called Zula Vegetarian Paradise, which later became vegan also. The only reason was because we used honey for a while, because there was no other sweetener. There is no coconut syrup available as today is, yes. Of course, no maple syrup and anything imported, so except white sugar, and even palm sugar wasn't cultivated, so it was really tough to find. But when I found alternatives, of course, I removed the honey. So Zula was first. 3 years later, opened Earth Cafe. Earth Cafe in the center of town.
Ubud is Earth Cafe?
Ubud is the third one. It's the second Earth Cafe.
Ubud, so the first one's down in Seminyak.
Seminyak, yes. Which, how hard to believe it is. I for many years, I worked to support the cafe and to pay the salaries, because it wasn't that much trend to be vegan or healthy or fit, and
really? People
come to Bali to party, not to rejuvenate like they do now. It's a mecca of yoga and retreats and self-improvement and all of that, and ecstatic dance and chocolate and cacao ceremonies.
That's right. Breath work.
No, we had nothing like this here. People came here to party, and that's what it was. And I tried to feed them.
And you tried to feed them when they were there. Yeah.
That restaurant was open until 4:00 in the morning, and I said, I will feed them after party healthy food.
Well, that's a great thing. You know, we all needed that to recover. I first went to Bali in 1988, and it was a paradise. You know, Kuta Beach still had palm trees, and you'd walk across grass to Kuta Reef and get a boat. But, you know, it's a very different place now. But at what point did Bali become this place to go to heal and discover yourself? And at what point did it shift from that all party, which it still has party, but at what point did the more spiritual and well-being and health start to come in? Because you would have seen that transition.
Well, at this point, the point that I switched from not poor to being able to support myself, that was when Bali was the turn. But if you're looking at festivals, like look at the Bali Spirit Festival, who was here, celebrated their 10th year last one. They also suffered the first few years to build the name and support themselves until it became what it is now. So I think it would be, I would look at it maybe 5 years, maybe it's 5 years now that Bali is on the map of all holistic alternative venues.
And what did that? What made the change? Why did it all of a sudden get on the map for that?
So, do you want to hear my theory?
Yeah, I want to hear your theory. You're in it.
So my theory is like Bali is and always have been attracting, if it's, we're not talking about the tourism, but attracting people that come and live here. It's people that either goes, I call it the land of the broken toys. So I would say it's either people that been ejected from society or rejected society, Western society, yes, and they come here to find, because someone, a builder, an actually Australian builder, told me yesterday, in Australia, nobody knows me here. Here I'm a king.
Is that right? So you're a big fish in a small pond. A big fish in a small pond.
So I think that it's the lifestyle that attracts people and the possibilities. And for a long time, it was a single mother heaven as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So
the mothers were there.
I was one, yes.
So, you were one of them.
To have a career, to work your business and have the help, and thanks to the Balinese mentality also and the way they are taking care of us and family, and it helps. It helps a lot. It's because my time is money. If I'm out there, I'm making money. I'm not in the kitchen and washing dishes. It does have an effect. So I think that Bali attracts this kind of people, and then of course Bali attracted entrepreneurs because it's also kind of a virgin land. And then of course the tourists that come here, they want to look good and they don't want to surf and do yoga and be fit and have a tan and this commercial of milk does a body good. So this is like the green juice make a body good. Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah, it totally does. It's a place of beauty, not only visually from a natural point of view and a landscape point of view, but there's so many beautiful people. We lived there for 3 years. Our kids went to the green school and we had a really wonderful time in Bali that 3 years. And it's a very different place to the rest of the world, and it's a special place, and I love it. I love that freedom. I love the entrepreneurial spirit, and I love that it's the people that either get rejected from society or reject the Western society, because it's just a different, more open way of thinking, which to me is very liberating and expansive and enjoyable.
Take into account that we the expat community does live in its own bubble here and does not involve in politics or any so we are able here to stay in our bubble somehow. And
yeah, well, that's true. We are, and you've been able to stay a long time and do business, because I'm assuming was it easy to start business in Bali and do business, or is it a challenge?
It is a challenge now. It's definitely a challenge now, but it was in the past. Things were smoother. It was a little bit of like the Wild West, so it was easier to get things done. Let's say that to register my hummus, I could do it over a cup of coffee. Not anymore.
So you started your business by making hummus and falafel, did you say?
Hummus and falafel and trina and baba ganoush and matbucha and all the Middle Eastern cuisine.
Of course.
But also and cookies and granolas and dry fruits and snacks, healthy snacks and cornbread, and deliver it, yes.
So tell me, what sort of food was available in Bali at the time in regards to produce or ingredients? Like when you opened your cafe, was it easy to get food, or what happened?
No, it wasn't easy, especially wanting to sell hummus here, and I need the chickpea and I need the sesame seeds, and I didn't have both. So I'm sorry about that. It doesn't stop here. The chickpeas are imported, sesame seeds are imported, and then they have to be, and of course I want organic, and for me the organic, it was always another challenge. But I did not want to compromise. So I did blew up all my small inheritance on process to start my business. I think your picture here got stuck. Okay.
Yeah, it got stuck. That's okay. It happens sometimes. So just repeat that again.
Yeah, so,
let me ask you again. So when you first started business, it would have been a challenge making falafel without chickpeas in Bali. Like, how did you end up sourcing your ingredients?
Back then I had to be very creative, actually, for many years in importing anything that flies, carries across the ocean, across the sky. Hand carry, anything, post office, just about anything to keep it going and bring it in. It was difficult. It still is difficult.
Yeah, so you bring it in. What about fresh produce? It would have been abundant with local produce?
Yes, but finding organic was definitely a challenge because there wasn't any. And I would travel to areas that the land wasn't sprayed and they didn't wash in the spring, that watering the field, their clothes, which quite often happens where the land is, they said, oh, it's organic, but then you go up the stream to see the water source and they're using Rinso, which is the laundry detergent, in the same spring. So the intention could have been good, but the results are not so good. So it was a challenge to find, and slowly, I found small. At one point, I did carry a bag of 25 kilo seeds for brown rice, organic heirloom seeds from the US, and we had them planted with a few friends. Okay, I'll buy everything from you, just grow, and we'll find buyers, and slowly it happened. Yeah.
Wow, so there's only white rice in Bali, even though brown rice is what comes from the rice, from the grass. Is that right?
Well, yeah, because it's different seeds. Yeah, it's different seeds. The brown rice, you cannot clean the brown rice all the way to white. It's different seeds, yes?
Yeah.
So it's wheat and whole wheat. So white wheat, whole wheat, or red quinoa, white quinoa. There is different grain seeds, yeah? So the brown rice is different, the same thing as the red and the black rice. They're different. So they were growing white rice only because the brown rice takes longer and more water and more cooking. It's more susceptible to insects, and because it's so nutritious, it's such a whole food. That was a challenge, yes. But when I explain that white rice, people consume white rice 3 times a day, but if you eat brown rice once a day is definitely enough. And it's definitely a different, yes.
Yeah. So,
white.
Yeah, okay. So it's a different grain, it's a different variety. With the white rice, when they still take the husk off it, don't they? Like but it's just a different style of seed. So the brown rice is much more nutritious, and I can understand only 1 serve of that a day because it sits in your stomach a lot differently. So tell me the principles of macrobiotics, because your businesses are founded on those principles, aren't they?
Yes, it is. So macro is big and bio is life. So, okay, big life. So I cannot say I'm macrobiotics because I'm the big life. No, but I practice macrobiotics. So what does it mean to practice the big life? It means practicing being in taking the full picture into perspective. Not only where I come from and what's the color of my skin or where do I live and what do I do, but take into consideration that you have to live in harmony with respect to all beings, to nature, to seasons, to cycles, and to understand the laws of the universe. For example, a very simple, yin and yang, extreme antagonistics, complementary antagonistics. So it's all complementary if we just understand that, yeah?
Yes.
And of course, living in respect to natures and colors, and like on your plate, you should have at least minimum 3 colors, yes? And red is not a natural color. So green and orange and brown or yellow or white, yes, like the brown rice. Yeah. So creating already a picture. And of course, in respect, because some of us do automatically. In the winter, they want hot stews and more fatty food and hot and warm. And in the summer, we want salads and pasta. So the body, which is a biodynamic computer that adjusts itself to internal and external conditions, already give you those signals. So we have to live in harmony with our bodies. So we understand cravings. We understand our body needs. You somewhat become kind of your own doctor. And I always tell my students, you only need an X-ray from the doctor. The rest you should do alone. So it's basically in respect. So for me, my business was not only about the food, but it's the community who we support. I built a restaurant where I saw not only there is a demographical need, but it also locally needed, as in terms of my staff live there close to that area. Why not? Why they have to travel every day 2 hours to work? Why not build a place there? So, and also the understanding in the first few years, also the understandings of their salaries and all that, because it's a very different way of thinking and seeing things, even with the locals in terms of salary. You know, the wash disher that wash dishes 10 years gets the same salary, gets less salary than a secretary they just hired. The wash disher gets angry. I've been here longer.
Yes.
About skills are not really considered than anything important. It's really
so it's time.
Yes, and this is the law. The employment laws here that are outrageously weird. That's nicely put.
Yeah.
So, I've tried to work with all of that. So I chose back then a point system that banks give when they give mortgage in the West. Yes. If you're single or not single, how long you live, how many kilometers you have to drive away from work, who are you supporting, and so on, and the point system, and each point was a bit of money.
Every point there's someone wanting some money. So what is your philosophy on life? What do you think the purpose of life is and the meaning of life?
Ooh. The meaning of life. So the question is if you believe in one life or you believe in there's many lives. Yeah. So, and if we believe in many lives, we're here for a period of time, and they will probably experience one in the past, experienced one in the future. If someone is a Jew like me, and you've been bitten on your head over with the concept of whatever you didn't do right last time, you're coming to fix this time. And if you cannot get it done this time, you continue the job next one. So I think we're all here on this earth to serve some sort of a purpose. And again, it's looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, what's your purpose?
I think definitely to bring people together, spread a message, being like an eco-warrior, proving that changing your DNA is possible. Because I lost about 13 women in my family for breast and ovarian cancer, yeah? I'm carrying the BRCA, the BRCA1 gene, my daughter as well. And I have over 3,000 mutations. If somebody understands in the mutation of the gene, understand it's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm getting close to my 54. None of the women in my family survived past 54 years old.
Wow.
And I don't have the common denominators, which was bad food, not living to your full potential, and bad marriage. So, yes.
Well, that's interesting because you are living a very different lifestyle to your relatives, your parents, the women in your family, and you're living in Bali. You are eating vegan, macrobiotic food naturally. You have a spiritual outlook on life, by the sounds of it, and. So that just shows that our lifestyle and what we eat is so linked to disease. Because if you look at the West these days, everyone's got heart disease, diabetes, cancer. And what's the common denominator? Food. I was, like with me, I was eating rubbish as well, and I had a heart attack at age 39. I shifted what I ate and my environment, and it disappeared. 6 months, I'm off all medications. 9 years later, still don't have to take meds. I lost all this weight, and I feel amazing. So I really like that. I didn't know about that about you, and it's interesting how DNA can change by changing what you put into your body and what lifestyle you live. And the fact that you're sharing that with other people, like us that come to Bali and eat at your cafes and restaurants, and you're spreading that ability to do that and exposing people to it, or the people that are already on that path, like you or I, we've got a place to go and eat that's safe for us.
Yeah, I know what it means traveling traveling in the world. So it's my dog. Then the other one. Traveling, then traveling alone, later on traveling with kids. And I'm very good at traveling. Especially with my kids and organizing food on the spur of a moment. And I mean, I've steamed green on the back of the car. And that's what we have today for lunch, greens and tchina.
Yeah. So. It's interesting that you traveled with your children. Like my daughter, my eldest daughter, is 21. And we have a half Balinese grandson. And he's 3.5 years old now. So, she had him when we were living in Bali when she was 17. And she's traveling. Like right now she's doing all of Europe. She's just been in Spain, and now she's in Vienna, and then she's off to the UK. And I'm getting these amazing photos of her and our grandson just traveling. And I'm so amazed and proud of her that she's off living her life, even with being a young mum with a baby, and it still has the capacity to do that. It's pretty special to see that happen. Did you find it hard, or did you really enjoy it?
Of course, there were time difficulties where we're sitting, there's flight delay, and she doesn't want to stop crying, and I'm so tired, and I had enough, and it's really not about food or anything like this, and I'm ready to punch someone because I need to sleep. So there were times that, of course, it takes a toll. We're still there's a body, and human needs rest, and I think this is what was the worst. My daughter has been more difficult than my son because he kind of slept through it all.
Yeah.
And she still has that energy. She's a bubbly. She's up. She's still awake all the time.
Wow. So she's got the movement in her.
I remember I was traveling with my son. He was 8 months old, and I was upgraded, and I was put in business class on a flight from Hong Kong to Israel. And it was only men in suits, and they're all looking at me like, oh God, yeah, the baby.
They just wanted to help.
Yes, I didn't pay business class to sit next to a mother and a baby. And I slept through the flight. He slept through the flight. And when we got down, like, the guy next to me said, "Yeah, you got Baby of the Year award, lady."
Oh, wow. Nice one.
And with my daughter, who was actually, I remember once I was traveling again from New York to another place, and my daughter was I only had her then, and she was about a year, and she was unbelievably awake. So, and I got onto a flight, and I was really, really tired, and they put me in the front seat so I could put the couch there, the baby cot. And there comes this huge mama, African American, huge lady sitting next to me, and her arms are spilling it to my chair, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I gonna live through this flight? And I need to sleep and all that. So at one point, and of course my daughter was restless, one point she took her in one arm and me in the other arm, and we both slept like babies all through the flight.
Beautiful. Mamas come together, support each other. Wonderful. Amazing. I'm sure you've got some amazing other stories with traveling. So tell me, how did the Vegan Festival come about? What created that?
So I love, like I said, to bring people together, and I love to celebrate and share beauty and fun and joy. And there's so much madness in the world today, and there's so much negativity spread. And so it was a reason to celebrate and celebrate what we're doing. And one of the things that actually pushed me to celebrate and create the festival, the Vegan Festival, as a celebration of life. And if you see in all our marketing material, it says celebration of life and all being. And the reason is because when you open the social media, most of the vegan posts are showing you the cruelty to animals. And it's mostly about that.
Yeah.
And it's not really, and I wanted to educate people that, okay, we know that side. So how are we changing, and how are we spreading the message and showing that we actually, I think one of the things that actually affected me in the past was when someone told me, oh, I remember those days when you go into a vegan restaurant or macrobiotic restaurant, everybody looks so thin, sick, and lonely. And this message stayed in my head and said, I want to show people that vegan are healthy and strong and vital and vibrant and not lonely. And so I think this is where it started.
Wow.
This message stayed in my head, and of course in the celebration, and it's time to bring people together. The first one was totally free. I've actually depleted my kids' bank account. Hopefully they're not going to hear that. Okay, we need to bring people together no matter what it is. And the second one was a small charge. And the third one, now on the fourth one, it was a little bit more pricey this year because we've tried to do two of them, which we did. We did two of them. And that was... and of course, to bringing speakers from all over the world and accommodations, and we need sponsorship. And I'm very picky about the sponsors. It cannot be conflicted interests. Yeah. So, I mean, we had Teboto, Lodov, or Hard Rock Cafe, or different companies approached us, and I refused them. Even wine or beer company, which I wasn't sure that they're not using any fish bladders in their corking and whatever it is. So it is important who sponsors us. And it's actually cut the list down a lot because we want people with integrity. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we chose fun, celebration, good music, positive speakers, reinforcing those who are, being an example to those who are not.
Yeah, I think that's what I really enjoyed about it. It was very positive. The message was positive. Yeah, I see that it's important to understand what's going on with animal cruelty and suffering and what happens if we choose to eat meat, really what's happening to animals. I think it's important to understand that. I think, though, we need to go beyond that. And we need to, like, celebrate all living beings and all life. And it's joyous and it's fun and it's amazing and we feel so good and we party like we did at the Vegan Festival. You know?
And again, there is a bigger picture that unites us all, and the bigger picture is to save this planet any way we can. And if we're playing just a small part by giving up the immediate gratification of the taste of meat, you know, I don't even eat meat substitute because I don't need the substitutes.
No, I don't eat the substitutes either.
No processed food for me, thank you. Yeah.
Neither. Whole food.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. So when did you become vegan?
So I've started my first time was I was 12.
12.
Yes.
And how long did that last?
It continued until I was 17 or 18. I had a year of playing around with, so my father used to hunt. So he said, okay, maybe only that. But that was too much for me also. So by 19, I cut almost completely.
So what was it at the age of 12 that made you, and that, you know, that was a while ago, before vegetarian and veganism were really understood. What was it that triggered you to eat this way at such a young age?
Wow. Let me think. I did read a lot. And I loved animals. And I was always saving animals. And for me, to save a bird that fell and hit my window, or save a cat that was tortured in the neighborhood. And
wow. So it's compassion to animals.
I even had the rabies shot at the age of 10. Yeah, because, yes.
What?
At the age of 10, I have 12 shots in my belly. That's back then they were putting shots in them, yeah.
Shots of what?
I got bitten by a dog with rabies.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So back then. Well, I still have it, so if you can see twitches. Yeah, well, anyway, I think it was animals. It was my reading. It was also, I think it was more on a spiritual level, which was why people that are very spiritual don't eat animals, and then those that, like, the lower you get to the bottom eaters, it's people that eat more animals. So looking at the philosophical understanding of that, and then the energetics of food is something that really triggered my mind always. Why we act certain way, why we dream certain things. And I kept a food journal from a young age to understand the effect of food on my body and on my dreams, especially. Because I used to have wild dreams as a kid, like really, really wild. Sometimes I would be in the middle of a battlefield and I had to carry a rocket and I'm running from one place to another, yes, and the world is falling apart next to me. And so I try to understand why do I have that. And my mother was a psychiatrist, to remind you. Yes, she wanted me to pop medicine, but I read all her books. So if she came to me and she said something, you should do this and this, and I said, well, I don't think Union would approve. Or Freud will approve your view. I was a little rebel. Yes, I refused system that I wanted to prove. I think at one time they even they wanted to change me to another school, and I decided, okay, I told them, I'm going to fail everything and you will see. And I failed everything.
You are a rebel, a total rebel. Where did this rebel come from?
I do believe it's in my family. My ancestors, both of them from both sides, from my mother's side mostly, are been great thinkers and rabbis and teachers, and my father's family, which a lot of them were killed in the Holocaust, but they were mostly because of their writings. They were put to jail because they wrote against the politics in Eastern Europe back then. So I think I come from that background of,
Well, great things come from rebels.
Yes.
Look what you've done in Bali. You brought amazing whole food to Bali, vegan food to share with, with us that visit there. So you at 12 to 17 was when you started your vegan journey, and obviously you've got a very philosophical mind, and from that spiritual point of view of being vegan, I'd like to unpack that a bit more because that fascinates me. What happens to our consciousness, or from a spiritual perspective, when we only eat plants, and what happens if we eat animals to our consciousness and our energy and our vibration?
So we know that saying "you are what you eat." This is and it is very, very blunt, the plain truth. If you think that animals are sentinel beings and they have emotions and feelings, and they are they know who their baby is, and we've seen them also be crying and so on. Then they know they're going to be slaughtered. They know that their friends doesn't come back or how they're killed. They know. They see and they know. And so imagine the amount of fears a person inhibits when they eat petrified meat. I think the animal, what happened is because when we scare the animal same contract, there's no blood flow, there's no oxygen, there is fear. So it's fear being chopped and served on a plate. And it really affects our feelings, our emotion. And then, of course, if you're looking at the yin and yang and the serotonin and dopamine and serotonin being so calming, it shows that eating brown rice once a day increase your serotonin level to an amount that people got off their antidepressants, yes?
Yeah,
for a while.
Definitely makes you happy.
So looking at, again, petrified meat from the animal and consuming all the fear and, of course, the antibiotics and everything else that the animal's been treated with. Give me a break. I mean, if you had your cow in your backyard and you ate once a while something, then at least you know what she ate, how she was fed, and if the ideological aspect of it doesn't bother you and it's okay, then you live with it, yeah? I remember, I'll give you an example. When I gave birth to my son, I don't know what happened to me, but it was actually happened before the last month of my pregnancy with him. I was 46 years old, about to give birth, and I'm dreaming of lamb, smelling lamb, dreaming lamb. I don't know where it come from, past life. It's like I would walk in the street or go somewhere and go, do you smell that? It was just that. So I could then the question is, do I really want lamb? Why is it? What's happening here? will I eat an animal? How could I? It's not even good for business. How do I do that? So,
Wow. What did you do?
So it took me a while to think theoretically what's really happening in my body. So after a while of understanding that actually I'm craving protein, and it's not necessarily, and this is what in my psychic, in my past life, connects to the need of protein, yes? The craving of protein. So I understood that this is really what I need, protein. So I increased my amount of protein for like 6 times a day, from twice.
From vegetables?
Yes, of course, plant protein, much more beans and much more nuts and tofu, tempeh, and whatever, which I love, and we produce ourselves, and it's so good. So
it is good.
Yes, thank you. So increase that, and within a couple of days, the whole thought about lamb disappeared, and it really proved the point that if we listen to our body, we know what we need. We really know what we need. So
you become your own doctor.
Yes, become your own doctor as much as you can.
Yeah, and I think when you eat this way, you trust your intuition more. You access intuition, and it's clearer, and you're not questioning decisions anymore. You just know, and you can act on that. Do you find that?
Oh, yeah, totally. One of my teachers once said, when you, after, he said, he gave it a number. He said, after 7 years of practicing macrobiotics, the doors will open.
And they did.
That was very broad expression, because doors do open to us every day and close.
Yeah.
But there's definitely something with the intuition, and not only with the intuition regard to myself, but regards to others, because it does serve me in my nutritional consultations. I can very quickly understand who is the person sitting in front of me, and definitely what they're eating and how their diet like, and their weaknesses and so on, and where I should tap into, rather than some people will come and they're not ready to change their diet or lifestyle, and they only need like 1, 2, 3 things tell them to do, and that's about it. Yes. And sometimes it starts with just cook for yourself once a week.
Yeah, that's right, rather than eating out. And it's true, if they just start to eat these foods, plant whole foods in a macrobiotic way, that just starts to change and shifts the vibration. And then over time, they'll find themselves eating it more and more and more, yeah?
Yes.
So you still do consultations with people?
Yes, I do. I specialize with cancer patients, but yes, I.
Okay. And if they wanted to get in touch with you to get a consultation, where would they go? Just to your website?
Either my website, but best through my email, which is Zanbar2000 Hotmail. I sent it to you before.
Okay, so I'll put that underneath this video so people can contact you if they wanted to do that.
And on the Messenger, they can find me, easy to find me.
Okay. So where is your little empire headed? Because you've got half a dozen, how many restaurants you got? 3 or 4 restaurants?
So there is Zula Seminyak, Earth Cafe Seminyak, and Divine Earth in Seminyak.
Yeah.
And then we have in Canggu, the village.
Yes.
Which is it's actually in a process of, if you remember, the festival ground is becoming a restaurant. So and of course in the lifestyle area. So it's
that's a great spot.
The moment it's the village, but we'll see. But the village of Earth Cafe. And then there is in Ubud, there is Earth Cafe and Paradiso.
Paradiso. So 7.
Yeah.
So 7 places. And then you also manufacture food, like you package food, you make your own tempeh and tofu. And by the way, I've purchased and used that tempeh and tofu, and it is stunning. It's so clean. And, you know, the thing I like about tempeh in Indonesia, and particularly the way you do it, because yours is organic, using organic soy. But I love, the beautiful mold, the white furriness on the outside, and it's so clean and so fresh, and it's just so beautiful. And the tofu, your tofu is not too sour. It actually has a sweetness to your tofu, which is really stunning. So what other sort of things are you packaging or making? Because you've got a big warehouse, a big facility now, don't you?
Cookies and a lot, about over 30 items, just dehydrated raw crackers and sprouted chips and activated nuts and so much, and dried fruits. And we have over 300 items. And we have kombuchas, 6 flavors, even from the recent one is green coffee kombucha.
Wow. Green coffee kombucha.
Yeah, and it's so delicious. I mean, the color is like chamomile tea, but the taste is coffee. Yeah,
wow, that sounds really interesting. When I come back, I'll try.
So there's a lot of products, and there's of course breads and pitas, granolas, tons of snacks. Yeah, chocolates. There's a lot.
And that's being obviously offered in your premises, in your cafes, to be purchased to take home, or they're on your menu. Are you exporting out of Bali or supplying other restaurants?
Other restaurants, yes. Other restaurants and supermarkets, yes, quite around the island. Like to do more of that, and of course getting out of Bali. I somewhat have a not such great relationship with Jakarta. Trying to stay away from this town. Yeah. Every time I'm there, I promise myself never again. So.
Yeah.
But yes, there are customers in Jakarta that also looking into our things and asking for supply. So that will happen next.
And what's the vision now for your business? Where's it headed? What's the next level for you with sharing the vegan message through your food?
So I definitely like to finish the building in Chengdu, which is a big land, and the factory, which is basically producing, being household, the food being household use in every home, to have our things. I would like to see in the future, doing pastas, doing salad dressing, so many things that we can produce here. So Indonesia is huge. We know 200 million. And of course, going to Hong Kong and Singapore and expanding the market. And maybe even, which could be a dream, to supply to airlines. Yeah.
Wow, that's so nice. How wonderful would that be to be able to have your food while we fly? Yeah. Because it's so nurturing, it's so loving, it's full of love, it's full of goodness, it's full of nutrition, and nothing is harmed with your food. Yeah. It's just no animals, it doesn't harm the planet, and it doesn't harm our body. Only good comes from it. Yeah. Yeah. So are you planning on expanding that yourself, or are you looking for other people to join you in that journey? Or
so the beauty of my business is, for the past 20 years, of course, all the stuff you just mentioned, but the beauty of it, that it grew organically. I never took loans or no banks, no. So I basically, whatever we had today, this is the world that we build tomorrow. So, but now where it stands, it really needs an investment. So I am looking for investors who are interested in helping me finish the factory project. The factory is working already, but still have a lot to build. To remind you, it's 5,000 square meter. It's a huge project. The kitchen itself, that's already working, is about 1,400 square meter. Yes, it's a beautiful project. I love to see on the second floor an education center. And I think it's also being the first organic, plant-based, vegan factory in Southeast Asia. I believe this is what it is. And,
another first. You were the first cafe.
I don't know any other really organic food factory and this size, and this size and this capacity.
Wow. Incredible. You've had an amazing journey. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And
and thank you for having me in Bali and looking after us so well at the Vegan Festival. It was incredible. Thank you so much for that. And so if people want to find you, I'll put all the links, the websites and your email if they want to do any nutritional consultation with you. And in the future, when the next Vegan Festival comes around, let us know. We'll share it with the world.
Same time, October next year will be the 5th. It's just, we have a teaser. Around.
Yeah, guys, if you put it in your calendar, okay, October next year, because it is an amazing trip. Like, you're in Bali, the mecca of wellness, and you just got all these amazing vegan speakers that are so inspiring, and you've got a party going on, music everywhere, and it's just a cool vibe. And it's a celebration of life. So, guys, head on over to Bali next year. Start booking it now. And, well, Liat, thank you once again for being here. And I really appreciate you sharing your journey and the inspiration and the change that you're making in the world. Like, you were one of the pioneers of educating people and providing food that nourishes and heals. And that's a pretty special way to spend life, to do that. So thank you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's a pleasure.